Well guys, you're finding me here in the ruined town of Rodney. This once prosperous place has now fallen into the swamp, so allow me to give you a guided tour of the place. Also on our list today is the ruinous Windsor mansion, along with a beached paddle steamer. So guys, let's get into the video. I seem to have lost my boat, so let's carry on walking down this flooded road here. And as you probably have already seen, I made this place for my recent Halloween video. Now that was a great video, I loved working on it, I really enjoyed doing it. And I built the entire town here of Rodney along with a big old plantation house up there on the hill. And you can see around me here is the landscape in place. So I built a whole swamp, and I had to do it quite quickly, so there's a lot of sort of shortcuts, and then we're looking behind the scenes over there, and a quick biome change really helped make this place feel what it is now. So before we ruin the entire magic, let's wander on down here into the small little town of Rodney. So as I mentioned in the time-lapse, around 4,000 people used to live here, but as you can see now, it is very much just a ghost town. I did reuse that quote, didn't I? Oh well, never mind. So first of all, I want to take you guys to this building here, the Presbyterian Church. Now, as I mentioned in the time-lapse, this is one of the best examples of the Federalist style of architecture in Mississippi. But what you're also going to notice as well is something that people popped up a few times in the comments saying, hey, you mentioned about a cannonball, but you didn't actually show it in the video. No, I know. I don't know why I mentioned it at that point of the video when my building had already taken on and I was up like round here, and suddenly I went, yes, there was a cannonball fired into the front. But what you can see here is I have added in the small little detail right here, which is the cannonball. So on screen now, you'll see a real life image of what the place looks like, if I remember to put it in, and that has that small little detail on there. Now I just wanted to add it in there to give it a bit more life and depth. I think we should go on inside this church. So in the video, you may have noticed a cinematic scene that took place in here, where several count wobblers were sitting there in front of me, and as the camera came in, they all turned their heads. Now that sparked quite a lot of stuff in the Discord, and quite a few memes were made about that, which I thought was quite an interesting little touch there to the community, but it was really nice. So what we're going to walk through here is the actual church hall itself. We've got a little gallery up on this bit here, but down here I thought I would show you a little bit of a detail that some of you probably don't really know what it is. Now that is what we've done with the pews here. So these are just beds, and you're probably wondering, how on earth are you doing that? Well, beds can be debugged. So if we come over to this side here, let me just show you this. So you're going to have to crouch so you don't end up trying to sleep in the bed, but you can actually right click and change which part of the bed it is. So we're going to keep this bit here, whether it's occupied or not, and also whether you can twist it around so you can keep it. And then at that point, you can actually break that section there, and you're left with a part of the bed you can use as a chair. And this is just a great little feature, especially if you want to add that extra little bit of detail into your interiors. So wandering up round the front here, you can see we've actually put in the pulpit and these candles either side. Now I like what this sort of detail here is as well. I believe Goblin came up with this when we were building the interiors here, so thank you Lord Goblin for doing that. And that is just turning one of these on, again using the debug stick. I've already got this in the right place. There we go, powered to unpowered. Just a great touch there with the lightning rods. So that is pretty much the interior of this church. There isn't too much else in here. It's a very simple affair, but I thought it was worth just coming in to show you guys those little details there. So you find me round the back of the church. Now this is something I didn't show off in any of the videos because I couldn't think of a way to show it. But when you kind of wander back from the church on top of this little bluff back here, you come to a very large graveyard. Now I like this place because it feels creepy but yet quite secluded and nice. It's in a small little opening surrounded by trees, and you just come here and you feel at peace. Also slightly creeped out if it's dark. Very creepy actually when it's dark, especially if it's in the rain. Now I did think about doing this whole tour in the dark, but I'm happy I didn't because it's very, very dark. Right, let's put the lights back on. Yes, so all of these gravestones here have been made using the debug stick again. I feel like this is the debug stick tutorial, but what's happened here is this is a wall that has had the up section removed from it, so you can cycle around using the left click and then right click to make it up or down. And these andesite walls really help create these sort of details for actually looking like tombstones. And the same can be said for this crucifix up here on the side. Actually, it's not a crucifix. I got told off for saying that once before. This cross up here in the top. Now that's all there is to really see in this little graveyard. So I just wanted to bring you up here for a second just to show off this bit, as I kind of forgot I built it. Okay, so we're back over here in the middle of the road, which isn't really much of a road anymore, and we're going to see some more of these buildings. So on my left here we have the Masonic Hall. This was opened in 1890 and closed in 1891 after the Masonic Lodge collapsed completely. The building has just remained here on the main road until the main road disappeared. Somehow this building hasn't rotted and falling into the ground, and in real life this building still sits there today in 2021, some 140 years after it was built. In our world the year is 1912, so it's not actually that old. It's only about 20 years old. Anyway, so if we go on inside it, there isn't too much to be seen in here. Just a rotten floor and a fireplace and a very dark corner. I don't like... No, I'm a little bit... I want to leave this place. It gives me some creepy feels. This is where the cultists come to and enact their rituals, so it kind of has some strange feeling about it. Upstairs here, there isn't too much going on, but for the details, I wanted to make sure the roof felt like it had been collapsed in on itself, so I've taken out quite a few slabs in here, and I've also put in some sort of beams at the top here. So this section feels, sort of ruined. Again, to make it feel like the shutters have collapsed in on themselves, I've placed the trapdoors laying down like this as a little feature. So when you're looking from the outside, it kind of looks like there's something there. Bit of extra depth, I don't know. It's my first time of building some sort of ruined shack. So speaking of ruined shacks, we have next door a completely ruined shack. So this used to be a shop, and it was part of this general stores here. And as you can see, over time has not been kind on it, and the entire building has collapsed in on itself, rotting away. Now, a great use of the moss block here is a way to show it as sort of having a completely saturated block full of just moss. Yes, because it is a moss block. So the general stores here, again, it's kind of my interpretation of a real life building. There was an image I saw of the real town of Rodney where not this church but the other church, the Baptist church, was sitting there in front of it with this building on the left hand side. So I thought, hey, why not bring it over here, mix it up a little bit and add it into this. We can't go inside, there isn't anything on the inside. It was just mainly a filler building to add to the landscape. Actually, speaking of filler buildings, I've got something else to show you over here. So when I was sort of midway through building the rebuild with Lightmatica for the section behind us there, when I was doing the Masonic Hall, I kind of went, hey, that looks cool without a roof. So what happened was I just copied and pasted it over here into this swamp. So it's kind of just behind everything else, and I thought, this is a really cool looking building. You've got a smokestack on the side there, ruined section of the building, and it kind of all just fell down. I don't know, it was just a little detail that I thought adding out here into the swamp might make it feel a bit more spooky for when I came to do the cinematics, as that's what this whole area was built for. Anyway, back to the main tour. Okay, so in front of me over here you can see a very large townhouse. Now this is based on the Muckreven townhouse from Vicksburg in Mississippi. It isn't featured in the real life Rodney, but I thought it was well worth building here. So it features 2 verandas sitting around the building, and an interesting fact about the building is this section at the back here was the original part, and the rest of it at the front was built on much later in a more Italianate style. But still, the building I think looked really nice, and adding these vines and these little details to it helped give it that swampy feel. Now, as promised in the time-lapse video, I shall do a tutorial on this, so hold fast on that one, guys. It will come out when I find myself with a bit of time. A little detail here I thought was quite good was breaking a few windows to give it a sort of idea that something smashed through them. I can't entirely remember if I did debug these ones. Let's have a look. No, so these are undebugged, but again, you can debug them to give it a different detail if you want to. But yeah, in total, this house kind of is a bit more intact than the rest of the landscape. I believe people come back here. This house may have only been abandoned for around 10 years as opposed to the rest of the town. You're probably wondering, why isn't there any other buildings? Like, what happened? There was a massive fire here in 1902. And that was the main reason why a lot of people ended up leaving. The river was already encroaching, and they had built levees to try and stop that from happening. And passenger traffic on the main ferries started to decline, and suddenly the ports caught on fire. Now, it may have been an insurance job, nobody really knows, but it just sort of sparked the downfall of the town, and around 80% of the town burnt down over one night. And this in front of me here is a relic of those past days. This is the Providence built by Onion Ring Sasquatch, who is the moderator on our Discord server. Now he's great with vehicles, and not just that, great with actually making ruined vehicles. This whole building is just like collapsed into the swamp. I don't know if you saw out of my left and right eye as we approached here. There are some alligators now lying around in the swamp, and as I jumped on to film this showcase, he was just adding these in there, and oh, there he is. Say hello, guys. He is, well actually, he's an honorary builder. He didn't follow the appropriate channels, he's just kind of builds now, because I thought, why not? He's a great builder anyway, and as you can see, he's a testament to what you can do with all of this stuff. Now, apparently there is an interior, so we're going to have a look on the inside, but I thought coming around to the back here and actually seeing the stern wheel was really worth doing. Oh, look at this. The leaves over it. So these will be added here via World Edit. Obviously you can't do that in base game, but I think it's really worth having like that. On the back here as well, it says the Providence comes originally from San Alexandro. Right, let's jump on to the inside. Alright, so we're inside, and you can see here, well, on its last voyage, there's still bits of paper left around. We've got a few coffee mugs left on the floor, a bit of luggage left in here. Now, this ship got wrecked around about 5 years ago. It was actually further out in the swamp beforehand, but a large storm blew it inland, and it's now sitting here, overlooking the Windsor ruins that we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, this is a great stuff, and the little touch here with the interior is actually fascinating. I think you've done a great job, Onion Ring. It's a really nice little detail to add to the whole landscape, and I know the guys on Discord love it as well. Is there anything else on the top up here? No, the whole place is just sort of collapsing in on itself. Ah, there's a pretty cool looking bridge as well. We've got some little levers here. These are all being made using invisible item frames, so that's what you're seeing there. No mods involved at all, guys. Well, let's leave this and to sort of carry on rotting here in the swamp and head on up behind me to the Windsor ruins. So above me along this path here is the ruinous Windsor mansion. Now this was once a great big plantation house, and we may see that later on, but currently it sits here on top of this path looking very sorry for itself. Just look at it, these large columns made of cast iron sit here blackened by the fire, their paint stripped off them. The base also has their stucco stripped off it. It's now all returned to brick. So you can see it is quite the mess. Now I wanted to make it feel like it was properly ruined. I've even added in like sections of bushes and plants growing over the top of these capitals up here, and also nature has taken back the path around it. Just think, this whole house only burnt down about 22 years ago, so it's not like it's been here ruined for centuries. So the swamp air and the swampiness around here, I'm going to say swamp one more time just to make it sound better, has really reclaimed this area. Now you can see big old piles of bricks everywhere, and my thinking behind this was just where the walls from the above part of the house collapsed in on itself and caused little piles of brick to be around. Like here, there used to be a chimney that's fallen down on the inside like that. Another little detail I thought was quite cool was actually having columns that have fallen in on themselves. So where they're not made of brick or stone or anything, they're made of iron, they kind of shear at a point of inflex, and you can see here that's what I've done. Now obviously walls don't really work lying down, so I've had to use full bricks to actually make the right detail there. But as you can see up here, all of the columns have been made using a debugged wall. So if you go into here and you right click, you can take out the bits, make it go fully up. And that's what I've done around the entirety of this building. Yeah, it took a long time. I think the effect's worth it. If it was full blocks, it kind of looks too thick. And if it's just walls, it kind of looks too skinny. So a debugged wall is just perfect. It's that Goldilocks zone. But still, you can see around the back here, there's a couple of columns that actually have a bit of the paint left on them. Now this is a sort of harking back to what it used to look like. And I think, guys, it's time to rewind the video and let me show you what this building used to look like. So we're back at the gates down here again, and as you can see, there's a slightly different structure sitting up there on the hilltop. So this is the Windsor mansion, the plantation house that once stood here, and you've just seen the ruins of. Now it looks completely different, doesn't it? It sports these beautiful white columns, white cornice trimmed around here with some sandstone, some birch, everything going for it gives it this grand house look. Now, as I mentioned in the time lapse, the building itself doesn't exist anymore, and there's a great scarcity of information about what the building used to look like. There was a sketch they found in the 1990s that kind of showed what it was looking like in the Civil War period, but what I've done is I've taken an artistic impression of what the house did look like and made up my own ideas, really. Now, the artist's painting did have this red brick finish to it with these nice sort of warped wood coloured trapdoors. Now, obviously, they are shutters that go around the windows, and as you can see, the whole building sports a pretty much identical look to it, and the symmetry really does lend itself nicely to the classical styles here. So this building is built in a neo-Greek style. Now, on top here, we sport this beautiful cupola, which is without roof. I've just gone for a nice flat roof here with a few little details buried in there to try and just make it look a little bit different. Same around this flat roof here as well. And you may be noticing some holes in the roof. Now, this isn't intentional. This was an accident. What happened was I am using Litematica to replace or rebuild the house as I'm going. So I place block by block, but I do it via Litematica. Now, recently, we've updated the server to 1.17.1, and there's been an issue with the reach distance on Litematica for placing stuff with Easy Place. Let me just show you. So you can see here the house has sections of it where the blocks are actually lighting up with blue. Now this means they aren't there. And obviously you can see in the actual schematic itself the blocks were there. And so when placing it using the Easy Place mode, which I've got toggled there to my U key, the block's meant to place in like so, and it works sometimes. But as you saw there, I clicked, but it didn't place it. But yet in the real world, it did place it. Now I noticed the bug, and I think it's a known bug in the game. I'm not trying to make it sort of seem like it's not working properly. So now I have to replace it twice, and it suddenly appears. If you leave, it kind of doesn't stay there. So it all just disappears by itself. Now I believe the devs are working on a fix for this. It's kind of a paper issue, a server issue, but it's just kind of like one of those things that I went, oh, that's really annoying, and I picked it up when I saw it in the cinematics, and I went, do you know what, there's no time left to fix this. It's just going to have to be a holy roof. This house isn't abandoned at this point. Anyway, that was a quick little segue. Let's get back to looking inside the house. So I'm going to take you guys inside. Now, there isn't too much to see in here, and it is very dark, but I thought I'd just show you what we kind of done on the layout. And if you're interested in rebuilding this one yourself, there was a bit more information in the time-lapse about it, and this was just like a small little sort of detail we wanted to add in here as a way of just sort of having a bit more about the building. If you wander out here to the back, you can kind of see a bit more about the verandas and how it works and the views you would get across the plantations, especially when you come in here to have your dinner in the very nice large dining room. And over the back there, there's something else we can go see in a second. But yeah, so for the house itself, that is kind of all there is left. Having seen it here in its full glory, it's definitely as nice as seeing it as the ruin. So let me show you this one last little thing. So if you watched the entirety of the time-lapse video, you kind of know where we are now, and you probably are wondering, how did I make it out? I didn't. You see in here? He got me. I think I might be a ghost. Well, anyway guys, on that bombshell, thank you all for watching this lovely showcase tour around here. Lovely if I do say so myself. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as always guys, remember, get inspired, get building, and I'll be back sometime soon with some more showcase and building videos. But until then guys, goodbye.